It's been weeks since Hurricane Ian came across the state and affected Central Florida, and still limbs and debris at the side of the roads right now. Ryan Gillespie's here. So Ryan, there's no clear-cut answer on to when everything's going to be picked up, but what do we know so far?
Well, we know that they're working on it. No matter where you live in Central Florida at this point, there are crews out on the road picking stuff up. I can speak personally that this week, stuff outside of my house is picked up. Orlando's picked up roughly 40% of the debris. Seminole County's in the mid 20% range right now, and it's starting to pick up as the flood's receding. Osceola County started this week with contractors, and some of the smaller cities in the Orange County area, like Maitland and Winter Park, are wrapping up their first lap through the city to pick stuff up. So the work is underway, but as we saw with the storm dealing quite the damage it did, it'll take a little bit of time before everything is all picked up.
Yeah, so far a lot of the focus has been put on certain neighborhoods in the region. I assume the ones that were hardest hit.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing is a lot of us who maybe didn't have flooding in our area, but you might still have piles of debris outside, but there's reasons for that. For example, in Orlando, the crews that the city used of their own employees as well as contractors were really kind of focusing in on some of those neighborhoods that were flooded where people lost everything. And, you had sofas and furniture and drywall and carpet and all kinds of other stuff outside. So really kind of the first priority was getting some of that stuff picked up. And that's what's different about this storm than Hurricane Irma and some of the other ones we've seen here over the years is because of the flooding, there's just so much like household items and construction material and things like that was damaged and put out. So maybe less vegetative debris than we've seen in years past, but that's made up for and then some by, the furniture and stuff like that they've got to pick up.
Yeah, you mentioned Irma and those that were here around that time when that storm came through. You remember there were like issues with contractors as far as some not showing up because the storm affected Texas. Is there anything like that happening here in Central Florida as far as like contractors, like hiccups with them?
Not that I'm aware of. I know in Orlando they were, for example, that their contractors were out on the road like within days after the storm ended, like the following Monday after the storm. And I think what's different there too is Irma hit kind of a couple of areas, whereas we saw Ian, obviously it dismantled the Gulf Coast and kind of the Fort Myers area and worked its way across, but it didn't have like multiple landfalls where it was affecting different states and things like that. So as far as I know, we have not had those same kind of issues, but it's still going to be quite the cleanup. I mean, and there's FEMA's got this predictive model that they do where people or counties and cities can see the amount of damage roughly that they will have. And just in like Seminole County alone, they're expecting 800,000 cubic yards of material. Like 300,000 of that is going to be like construction and furniture and things like that. So it's just a lot of stuff out there to pick up.
Well, as you mentioned, it's going to be a long process. What can people expect? Is there a timeline on this?
So it depends on where you live. I think pretty safely you can expect sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks, you will probably see most of the work being done. In Orlando, they're expecting the first lap through neighborhoods to be done by like November 4th, and the second pass should be quicker. So, you might see that by the end of November. Seminole County is thinking 2 months would be probably the worst case scenario. So by the end of the year, certainly, hopefully by the end of November in a lot of places.